Hello, welcome to Bus Stops. Let us find a bus stop picture to consider and talk about. Roulette wheel, roulette wheel. Cycling photos, what will you show us? All right. This is the WTVR, I believe, or the CBS 6. This might be the same thing, antenna here in Richmond. This is probably the tallest structure. No, it's certainly the tallest structure in Richmond. I can't fathom. I would be supremely embarrassed if there is a taller structure, which there just isn't. It's the tallest thing in Richmond. I don't think I need to couch that in any sort of protective language. It's huge. It's a radio antenna. A lot of times these structures aren't really included in the counts for the tallest buildings in the world. It's not really a building. It's just a structure. This thing is massive. I don't know how tall it is. I can't imagine it's less than 1,000 feet. Knowing how tall the tallest buildings in the downtown are, I think they're about 450 feet thereabouts. So I imagine this probably tops out around 800 to 1,000 feet, somewhere in that range. And it's right in the heart of Richmond. It's off of Broad Street. It's near the crossover of Broad Street over 195. So in kind of the western part of the city, not quite at the city line, not quite all the way out to Willow Lawn, but yeah, right there. And this is Tilden Street, this sign says right here. Tilden Street. I am going out of my way to avoid... It would be easy enough for me to include the bus stops, the number that the stop was taken at, but I'm very conscientiously not doing that because I don't want this picture to be about... I don't want this series, rather, to be about place the picture at the bus stop on a map. It's not really a game. It's not hide and go seek with pictures and geographic locations. I'm not interested in doing that, or anyone else to do that for that matter. So I've given you more than enough information, and even just looking at this picture, it would be pretty easy to stand exactly where I stood to make this picture. But rest assured, I do have a very comprehensive knowledge of where every picture in this series was taken. But I'm not going to share that with you because it's not in the purview of this project to discuss. It's not important to the series. I may talk about that whole phenomenon later, but for the time being, let's just get into this picture. By the way, if you haven't already guessed, part of the reason that I ramble about associated matters is because I often just need a moment to look at the picture and gather my thoughts. So first off, should be no surprise to you if you're a frequent viewer of this series that the first thing that my eye is attracted to is all this mess down here. These light poles, and that is just a scarringly ugly thing in the frame to my eye. This picture is certainly unedited because I trust myself enough that if I had edited this photo, those would have been the first things that would have gone. I think that's an easy clone stamp out. I like the frame where it is in terms of the tower and the pole and everything, but those things just gotta go. They gotta go. Can't have them in my frame. Actually, tell you the truth, I might just slide that frame over to the right a little bit. I think if anything, that tower can come a little bit out to the left, but only a little bit. Only a little bit. This picture is minimal. There's not too much going on, and that is obviously a product of the clear, the crystal clear blue sky. There's no clouds. There's the variation of looking up at sort of the sky directly above you versus the nearer proximity to the sun. I think I can't really venture. I think the sun was behind me, obviously, because of where these shadows land. Not too much of a visible shadow in this image, I guess. Anywhere in particular, I think, yeah, the sun was behind me. Kind of looks like you can see on this little drum right here, there's a raking shadow coming down sort of from up this direction. So the sun is up in that way. This was like a building shadow or something, so I think that was kind of what I was intending to be interesting in this picture was the fact that the stoplights that are within the tower are lit up. Stoplight and the road sign that are outside of the tower are in shadow. So there's just this kind of weird, there's this unsettling angle that crosses the frame where the tower isn't vertical. It sort of leans, obviously, from left to right. And then this line comes across and just is basically, it's obvious that all of the weight of that particular object, the arm that holds these stoplights is coming from kind of above and behind us, essentially, where we are in the picture. And so I intended this photo, I think, to be one of unsettling lack of balance. And obviously, when you look up at the dizzying heights of such a tall tower, that can be an experience that one has. This tower, the tower does not photograph well, I don't think. It's a very distinctive structure in a lot of ways, but insofar as it is a completely functional thing, there's no culture that's made about the tower per se. It seems like kind of a weird statement, but I'm thinking of even the Carillon in Bird Park, has a memorial purpose. Every building in the downtown has a very functional purpose as well as aesthetic considerations. The tower is the way it is because that's what a radio tower needs to look like. I mean, even the red and the white sort of, I assume, are to increase legibility for passing flying objects. All that to say is I don't know, it's a big tower. It doesn't factor much into my thinking of Richmond. Even this area, I think a lot about oh, that building is close to the Federal Reserve, or that building is close to the Monroe Tower or the state capitol. I don't ever really think of this area and think oh yeah, that's the area that's really close to the CBS 6 tower. It's just kind of a fact. And yet it's so tall and it's so looming over anything that would happen in that area by comparison that, I don't know, it feels important to include in the series in some way, but it's also just such a weird shape and the taper of it. In this image here, I mean, if it were straight edges all the way up, that would have a much different feel than I think sort of the tapering. If you look at it long enough, it starts to almost lay flat. I don't know. If you kind of let your eyes unfocus on this image, it really starts to do weird things. And I think it would do much weirder things if these little bits weren't down here. So again, I'll say it for the billionth time in the series. Watch your frames, folks. That's about all I have to say. I am interested in all this, how clear this day was. I mean, my goodness. It's perfect clarity all the way up from the bottom to the top, which is pretty beautiful. I think this episode is coming on the tail end of one of my viewer-submitted photos. So if you enjoyed that or if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And I'll just shout it out again. If you want to have me talk about one of your pictures in like fashion for whatever it's worth, please send me an email. Thank you for watching and looking at this photo and listening to me talk. Bye-bye.